YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. We've been going through our position rankings for the 2023 NFL Draft. We are on to the tight end, so I'm going to break down the top 5, and then we'll talk about 6 through 10 here. Our Twitter subs are getting a lot of these early. They're getting round grades. My spreadsheet with rankings will be out for everyone right next to the draft when that comes out. We got full NFL coverage here. We'll be live during day 1 of the NFL Draft. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Follow us on Twitter. Very important. Links pinned in the comments for anything you're looking for. My number 1 tight end is going to be Michael Mayer. There's a lot of talk out there of not having Michael Mayer number 1, which is actually surprising to me. But I do see what people like in the other tight ends. I think it's a pretty damn strong class, which we're not really used to compared to recent years. So, but I like Mayer, number 1 overall. You know, he shows that dominance a lot, which you love to see from prospects. Like if they're able to show dominance like quite a bit, not just here and there. There's a lot of, most of the guys not at all. It's a pretty good sign, you know, because it feels like they're ahead of everyone else and just that good of a player. But yeah, responsible for most of Notre Dame's offense. You know, when they needed a big time play on 3rd down, 4th down, he came up with the ball, you know, most time contested catch-wise, because I'd say he's probably the best in the class, and not just tight ends, the entire class with his contested catch ability, just using that physicality, the strength in the hands, but sometimes he doesn't even know, like, defenders on him. He's able to fight him off and make that big-time play. You know, obviously has the ideal frame as well. Sometimes it shows after the catch, some guys just bouncing off him. Solid footwork where I think he's underrated. See what some of these routes and you know, shaking defenders off him during the route because of the footwork. I think that's where people really don't talk about him enough. He actually can do that at a pretty high level. And he can align pretty much anywhere. I mean, we've seen him align in line, slot, outside. I wouldn't imagine use him out wide a whole lot. You know, maybe near the goal line, near the red zone. I do think he's an instant impact, too. I think you just plug and play him, you know, because he can block. I mean, he can get better blocking, but he can block, improve this past year. Obviously, he can catch. Obviously, he's a factor on, you know, 3rd, 4th down, trying to convert the 1st down, trying to get in the end zone. So he should be an instant impact. I wouldn't say he's slow, but he definitely isn't fast. You know, for today's tight ends, you know, look at the very top, which he kind of shows sometimes. Like this guy could be a top NFL tight end because of his dominance, his hands, the big playability. In important moments, but some of those top tight ends in the NFL can be a little quicker than him. Grabby blocker, you know, like I said, he improved, I thought, this year, but he seems to kind of not completely bear hug, but his hands are pretty wide, and he'll grab a bit. And he was called for a little bit of holding, which they'll call. The NFL's been letting some go more and more each year, but they'll call a little bit more than the top schools in college get called for, so that's kind of just how it works. A little bit limited route tree. I do think he has the footwork and can run routes. He's a smart guy as well, so I think that's where somewhere where he'll get better. But to me, Mayer's a very safe pick, instant impact type guy, and again has those moments where he absolutely dominated at the last level. So I think he can carry some of that over to the next level. I got Dalton Kincaid, number 2, and I'm kind of borderline with the round 1, round 2, actually, and a lot of people are pretty damn high on him, and I could see why. I mean, he's smooth. I mean, smooth is probably the best word, the only word to use for him when it comes to running routes, catching the football, because he has really good hands, and even after the catch, it's all just so smooth. Just a big playmaker, almost like a receiver. Yeah, almost receiver-like at the tight end position, or, you know, he'll play in the slot quite a bit as well. We talked about the great hands. I think, you know, he's not the biggest guy in the world, but, I mean, 6'4", 246, it's pretty big. You know, these tight ends are pretty big, pretty damn good athlete. Like I said, the footwork, how smooth he is. You know, pretty good speed for tight end after the catch. It's all very impressive there for a guy like that is this big. You know, big playability. So, you know, making those big-time plays, even, I mean, big chunk plays, too. Either because he got open down the field or what he's able to do after the catch. And he's definitely a mismatch and can continue to be a mismatch because it's one of those guys, like, you know, you're used to seeing the slot receivers, but then you see a guy like this in the slot who's built like a tight end but can move like a receiver pretty much. You know, who do you put on that guy? So that's where, you know, I could see why people are very high on him, because he can be a mismatch. He's going to rack up the production, you know, probably right away in the NFL. He's going to rack up the production. He's going to get the stats that even in year one. Like, I think we'll see. It depends on where he goes, obviously, but I think we'll see the stats that most people will be saying, okay, yeah, he was a first round for a reason. He should have been a first round. My knock is I don't think he's the best blocker. So could he? And I could see, you know, where he can, like, in a good way, like he could actually improve in terms of blocking. But I don't know if it's a guy you really want, like, love to have on the field to block. He's kind of on the field so things don't get predictable. At the next level, I should say, it was fine at Utah. But, you know, so you don't want him to turn into that. You know, why a guy maybe like Mike Gesicki didn't end up getting a big contract or had a down year. It's because they didn't really want him on the field all the time because you worry about the block. You know, I think Kincaid could be a better blocker than Gesicki. I'm just using an example. Some of those tight ends that are pretty freaky when it comes to running routes and catching the ball and after the catch, you know, how often they're going to use. So he's going to have to improve his blocking to be used a whole lot and to help the team more than just receiving, more than just with the stats. So that's kind of my thing where it's like, are you just taking a big slot receiver, or is that who you're taking in the first round? I might rather just wait or maybe actually grab a real receiver. Maybe you want the mismatch with the size, perhaps. But receivers are shiftier, they're faster, but he is pretty impressive in that category. So that's where it's a little tough for me, where I'm kind of borderline first, second. I might feel a little more comfortable early second, but again, the mismatch and the big playability, I mean, how he runs routes, almost like a receiver, you could definitely see the first round ability there. But yeah, could he end up being, so some tight ends that end up getting paid big money because they do a lot of everything and they do it at a high level. You know, could he just end up being that receiving tight end at a high level? And he was injured during the pre-draft process where we just really didn't get to see him, so that was pretty tough as well. But there's some that have him really high, like a top 15 player in the draft. That's definitely a little high for me. I don't think he'll go that early at all. Could go. I've heard some good things just from quotes around the league. I've heard, you know, that he could easily go late first round. So we'll see. But how much will he be involved? We know he'll have production, so that's where I'm at with him. Then Darnell Washington will be next, who I think will be a round 2 guy. I mean, he's so unique, such a rare type of player that in the team, he doesn't fit everybody, but the teams that he fits so well, and he's got so much upside still that for those reasons, those teams might take a shot at him late first round, and I could see that. And I might not be against it, depending on the situation, who's on the board, who takes him, things like that. But 6'7", 264, obviously a built dude, and he's like built like really good shape too. He's not just a big guy, you know. But yeah, the size, build, athleticism combo is just absolutely rare. Solid contested catcher too, using that physicality, the big hand, big strong hands. But where, you know, people see this freaky dude, you know, he's just so big, he's got some nice catches, and that's what they're going nuts about. But he's such a powerful blocker. It's almost like having another tackle out there that also can run routes. And when you say that, and that stuff is the truth, everyone should be on board with that. You know, when he's like almost having another tackle out there that could run routes and catch the ball. That is where it feels like maybe a first-round player, because that's special. That's something that everybody should be interested in. I know he fits other teams more, you know, than others, and because of that, he can be used on every down, where some teams might go Kincaid. I don't know about him being on the field in early downs. I don't know about his blocking. You know, can he be on the field? And most teams, if they draft him in the first round, he will be. But so maybe that's the difference between those two. And I love Jelani Woods. Last year, he's actually my first overall tight end in last year's class. You know, big, freaky size guy, could block, contested catch guy. But Washington's a better version of him. There was just no Michael Mayer or Dalton Kincaid in last year's class with Woods. It was a weaker class, so he was actually my #1 overall tight end. Just a freaky dude. And again, yeah, the fact that he can help you in the blocking game is just huge. Athletic for his size, but he does look stiff at times. You know, I think he tested a little bit better, more athletically than he is. But for his size, yes, he's pretty damn freaky. But sometimes he gets the ball and he kind of tries to turn upfield, and he's kind of stuck, stiff a little bit. But then he'll hurdle somebody once he gets going, and that's like, okay, that's where he's freaky. But sometimes, you know, the acceleration maybe a little stiff. You know, sometimes it does. There are times, even though he's freaky, the testing numbers were ridiculous. There's times where it does look like it's an offensive lineman kind of catching the ball and trying to turn upfield a little bit. It kind of does look like that. And then when I see that, it's like, it's so hard to use a first-round pick on that, but he can do so much. Yeah, and a little inconsistent, I guess, with getting the separation. In the passing game. He's definitely consistent with his blocking, things like that. But I think he'll go on round 2, could sneak into the first round. Number 4, I'm going to go Luke Musgrave. And Musgrave, yeah, it's kind of a 2-3, like round 2 or 3 guy. I could see the late 2. Mainly why I'm leaning 3 is because it's very risky because we didn't really see a whole lot of him. It was a limited sample size, and he missed pretty much every game. It was a couple games he played in this year. So that's pretty tough. And there's guys like that every draft. And there's guys like that in this draft that were barely played this year. Their production or their play was down. Let's go back and look at their healthy year or years. And they're great, and I'm good with it. But he even had limited play throughout the entire career. I mean, adding this one on top of it. So that's a tough part with Musgrave. And he just, even when he was healthy, it was like, you just expect a little bit more production, So, maybe Oregon State held him back a little bit. Maybe he's just too good for Oregon State, but you wish there was a bit more. But yeah, long, 6'6", 253, pretty damn smooth mover as a route runner, as almost a receiver. You can put him out wide, throw him that jump ball. But a lot of work down the field, like a lot of consistent play in the deep end there, which I think is kind of rare for a tight end. So when you start to see stuff like that, it's like, it's okay. Maybe like, he's not, you can't really compare the two, but David Njoku, I think that the Browns try to use him downfield and make a big chunk play down the field. So maybe it could be used like that. There's not too many guys like that. Pretty good route runner. Upside as a blocker, inconsistent, I guess. Like sometimes it's like, all right, he's better than I thought. Sometimes like, all right, that's kind of what I thought. But he can do it. He wants to do it, and I think he's got some upside there. Just a great athlete for his size at 6'6". There's a lot of wow potential here with a guy like this. Somebody might take a shot at him in the second round. It's kind of a boomer bust guy. It's hard to see him being a complete bust though. Like I don't think this guy's going to be the bust, because of talent level. The bust would be because of, will he be healthy? Does he have enough experience yet? Will he get going in a few years from now? That if he does, then he wouldn't be a bust. But yeah, that's why it's a little risky there. Number 5, I actually like Tucker Kraft a lot from South Dakota State. When you watch him, he feels like he's like the Darnell Washington, like, the way he catches the ball. Like, it looks like he's like 6'8", 280 sometimes, the way I'm watching him. But he's 6'5", 254, which is your ideal, elite tight end build. Doesn't mean he's going to be elite, but that's the build right there. 6'5", 254, and he plays bigger than that. Sometimes it's a negative. Playing bigger than that means you're a little slower. I think he's, in terms of athleticism, he's right around the good range there, but he plays bigger than that. He plays more physical and with the contested catches and kind of a bully of a guy. And you could say, well, that was because he played weaker competition. He did play weaker competition, so it's going to be a major step up here in the NFL, obviously. But I like the build. I like that he plays stronger, more physical than even the physical size that he is. That is the ideal build. I think he's pretty damn balanced too. Like he can, get downfield. He can catch the ball. He's pretty tough after the catch. I think he's a very solid run blocker. Like, I don't know if he has like a major weakness, like an actual weakness. Played weaker competition's a serious thing because how is he going to transition to the NFL? But is there a weakness to his game? It's not. But he looked dominant at times as well. But yeah, I guess the only negative is, like, he does everything pretty well. He's not really missing something, but he doesn't really do anything great. Like, there's some eye-popping moments, but he isn't like the smoothest route runner, pass catcher, even though he's pretty good at them. He's not the best blocker in the class, but he's pretty good at it. You'd like to see the balance across the board, where I think he could be a plug-and-play guy. And then going from weaker competition to great competition, I think the guy could. I think he can handle it. I just by how he plays, how he is. So I like Tucker Kraft a lot. Yeah, I got him at 5. Yeah, I have Sam LaPorta at 6, the Iowa tight end. I thought I would have him at 5. After watching him, I thought I'd be a little higher on him, but he is solid, pretty athletic. But I think maybe people overreact a little too much from kind of the testing. I don't think he plays that athletic. Sometimes a little stiff, but a little inconsistent with his blocking, 2 inconsistencies, but has always been pretty productive. I think he's versatile where he can play inline, the slot. I actually seen him out. That's kind of where I think people get like, wow, like, because you see him line up on the outside. And he'll get open, and he's pretty tough after the catch, that too. Guy can make a pretty good highlight tape on him, but after watching like every snap from multiple games, I thought I would like him a little bit more, but I still like him though. But there was one point where we're talking second round. Nah, I'd go third round. I'd definitely go third round there, especially with how this draft is. I think there'll be some first round guys in the early second. I think there'll be some top tier second round guys throughout the rest of the second. So I take him to third. Davis Allen, I like his upside. The Clemson tight end, he's big contested catcher, physical, very solid blocker. So he's kind of balanced, but you wish there was a little more speed, obviously. And there's a lot of schemed up things. Like a lot of his plays came from, almost lining up as like a wing and then 2 yards and out, and draw the defense this way. He's open over there. There's a lot of that, but it's not really a huge weakness there. But I think he's pretty underrated. Luke Schoonmaker from Michigan, another balanced guy where I think he does everything pretty well. He's got pretty good experience, but then that kind of goes in. He's definitely on I think the oldest tight end, at least out of this bunch. And I thought he plays smaller than his size, mainly with when the ball's in the air, but physical enough. It's not like he's weak, playing small or anything like that, but he's not maybe as physical as his build might say. And, being the older guy, the experience, you wish there was a little bit more physicality there. Then Zach Kuntz, who lit up the combine from Old Dominion, rare size and athleticism combo because he's lengthy and lanky. And he's pretty damn good athlete. He's quick, fast. He's got solid footwork. Didn't always show, but there was sometimes the routes where you kind of bend it, but there was sometimes the routes where he's really, with the footwork and the body language, throws off the defensive back almost like a receiver, and then he cuts and gets open. And when I saw that, I'm like, yes, I love that. I want more of that. So you can see the upside there. Limited playing time, and maybe you wish there was more production for how dominant he was playing against some weaker kind. Old Dominion's playing better teams now, but and not really a physical blocker because he's kind of a big dude. I guess he's not thick like some of the other guys, but he kind of is going towards the opponent he's supposed to block, but then holds up, right before he's about to make contact, almost lets them contact him first. So I don't really love that. I think he's got tremendous upside here, though. And then Brenton Strange from Penn State, pretty athletic. He can play inline or the slot. Kind of looks like a more upside in the slot. He's a solid contested catcher as well. Disappeared at times. I noticed that was a thing for Penn State guys, though. So I don't know. Maybe it's a Penn State thing, Clifford thing. And he could improve as a blocker. Inconsistent. Like sometimes it's like, all right. Sometimes you look at him like, this guy's pretty balanced across the board too. But then there's times where, he definitely could be better. Teams might look at him like, that guy's a slot guy. But maybe a little underrated in line. Maybe some teams won't really know what to do with them. But maybe my number 10 tight end there. A pretty strong group. There's some other guys after this that are pretty solid as well. Maybe a receiver. I want to move the tight end like Elijah Higgins from Stanford. That's a possibility. He needs to maybe bulk up a little. He's pretty big, but a little bit more size. Blocking ability could be a little bit better. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for the tight ends, which is a pretty good class. We got the offensive linemen for the offense left, and then we're on to the defense, and the draft is not long away because it's right around the corner. And we'll be live during the NFL draft day 1. So join us here on our channel, day 2 and 3 live analysis on our Twitter. So make sure you follow that. Link pinned in the comments for that and anything else you're looking for. Let's get to it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.